Welcome and welcome back. With today, we got our final relic reveal, so we've got the entire board, which means I want to be ranking absolutely all of them together, and I also want to give you a couple of relic builds here on the end. So let's jump into it. Here's what the whole board is looking like. Oh, and can I just say, I'm so glad we ended on a high note. I got the last one right. It was, in fact, Executioner. That's pretty cool. But let's start from the beginning and let's go through all of the relics just so we can kind of see where they're going to end up, what we should choose. And of course, like I mentioned at the beginning, I am going to be ranking them all the way from S to trash can. We'll see where we end up. Some of these might actually surprise you. So starting with tier 1, we have got Abundance, Endless Harvest, and Barbarian Gathering. Now, I'm not going to go through absolutely every little interaction that these relics do, but I did want to capture all of the high points, just kind of recap what they're doing to help with the decision making as we're talking about it a little bit later. So Abundance, this is going to give you a plus 10 level boost in any of your non-combat skills. So crafting, smithing, woodcutting, mining, fishing. I mean, you can go through them all. Like, there are just so many skills. It's above 20 that you're getting a boost of plus 10 in, which is going to be really big. Now, this is also giving you 2 GP per XP that you gain, and you're also going to be getting an additional flat 2 XP on top of any of your skilling actions. So you chop a log, you get like your base 15 or whatever it is woodcutting, then you're going to get an extra plus 2, and this can be multiplied by the League's XP multiplier. So once you get up to like 16 times, then you're getting an extra 32 XP on top of whatever else you're doing. Endless Harvest is going to double the resources from mining, fishing, woodcutting, and you are getting XP from each of those resources that are gathered, so it's basically 2 times XP on your gathering skills, plus whatever your League's multiplier is. And you also gather infinitely from fishing spots, trees, rocks, so regardless of whether they deplete, just once you start, you're stuck at that spot, you can just keep going at it, and all of those resources will be automatically banked for you if you want them to. And then we have Barbarian Gathering. This is turning your fists into crystal tools, which is pretty cool. So you're going to be punching everything that you're doing while you're gathering. Woodcutting, mining, fishing. And you don't need bait for fishing. That's a super nice quality of life thing. You're also going to get an additional 10% XP from whatever you're gathering into strength and agility. So you'll get 100% of your woodcutting XP, but you're going to get an additional 10% on top that goes towards strength and another 10% that goes towards agility. So it's just going to help you passively train up those skills, kind of like you would get with Barbarian fishing in the main game. Now with this, you're also getting a knapsack. This thing can hold up to 3 different types of resources. So you can have like a normal log, an oak log, and then a shrimp in there if you want, or whatever combination. And it can store a total of 140 items. So if you end up with like 50 logs, 50 shrimp, then you can have 40 extra iron ore in there, what have you. Now, you can deposit this stuff at a bank, but if you're out in the world, you can't pull it out of the knapsack, so it does have a dispose option, so if you want to, like, AFK at a spot, not worry about running to a bank, you certainly can, but you're not going to get to keep the resources. Now, the other nice thing with this is it's giving us a 50-50 chance if we fail to gather something. This is especially helpful on high-tier nodes like Runite Rocks, Raw Sharks, maybe Redwood Logs if you're in Kourend, because you will fail very often on those. So if you fail your punch, then you're getting another coin flip on whether or not you're going to get that resource. So it essentially just means that you are gathering those high-tier resources really, really fast. So let's talk a little bit about where I would pick this, what sort of interactions this does have. Abundance is definitely like the point-focused pick. It's going to be really, really good for rushing points and tasks because of the plus 10 boost. Now, the GP is fine, and it will get better later into the league. It's not bad at the start. It's going to help you get a little bit of starting cash, but you're not going to see like crazy GP from this. Similarly for the XP, it's probably not going to help you much outside of the early game because you're just going to outscale the XP really quickly, but it is going to help you at those early levels, so it's going to push you up towards maybe like 50, 60, just that much faster. Endless Harvest, obviously that's the AFK option. If you just click a node once and then you're stuck to it for 30 minutes, I know some of you have been calling me on that. It's 30 minutes now. We got an extra 5. Then, yeah, I mean, that's good. Right before you go to bed, you click a Runite Rock. See you in the morning. You're going to come back. You're going to have however much you end up pulling, which it does matter because you have to get tools. So, like, you're going to have to find yourself a rune pickaxe, maybe dragon if you have that in the area. So it is going to get better with your level and better with your tool. but it's still really cool for AFK. Plus, maybe you just need to chill on your side monitor for a little bit, then you don't have to worry about the timer, but your guy's just going to keep there, chopping a tree. You just click every like 30 minutes and you're good to go. For the Barbarian Gathering side, this is kind of like the active gathering skill solve. You're going to be getting stuff faster than Endless Harvest, even though it does the 2 times resources, because your fists are literally crystal tools, so you don't have to find the tools. You don't have to bring them with you. You've got that 50-50 roll after the fact of you like failing with your crystal tool check, which you're just going to be getting stuff like really, really fast. That's what it really comes down to. Now, it does help a little bit with agility and strength. I don't think strength is that big of a deal here, because typically with your combats, it's going to be really fast anyway. But for agility, this is nice, because agility is typically a big pain in the butt to train. Now, this does get more benefits from those higher tier resources, so if you have certain areas like Korend, where you get anglerfish and redwoods, even better. Wilderness has dark crabs, and Asgarnia has amethyst, so those interactions, you're getting even more benefit out of Barbarian Gathering. Now, for Endless Harvest and Barbarian Gathering, because you're getting a lot of resources there, it does assist you with cooking, crafting, fletching, fire making, and sort of smithing. I don't like these as a smithing assist because you're getting raw ore, and raw ore is such a pain in the butt when it comes to like processing that stuff unless you have blast furnace. So I wouldn't keep smithing in this list unless you're going Fremi, but the other 4 skills, since you're building up those supplies, it is going to help you train those. Granted, you're going to have to like circle back to do so. All right, let's start by putting the tier 1s on the board, and honestly, I actually like all of these. I know that the XP is trash from abundance, but that's not really why you're taking this relic, so I think they're all pretty well in A tier. That may change as we get some more relics, because we have a lot of relics to go through, so things may shift around a little bit. We'll see. Moving on to tier 2, we have got Woodsman, Friendly Forager, and Hotfoot. Now, all of these have a lot going on with them, starting with Woodsman. This one lets you fletch items immediately. Your whole inventory will be processed. Stackables are capped at 10 times, but that's going to be a lot. That means you're making the equivalent of 10 dart clicks in the main game at once. So, like, you're going to get some crazy, crazy fletching XP with this. It's giving you the ability to toggle whether or not you want to burn some logs automatically when you're chopping them, so a little bit of a fire-making solve for yourself. Traps are going to act faster, they don't fail, they give double XP and double loot, and it can be sent to the bank directly. That's all huge for Hunter. Traps will also give you a random herb seed or tree seed when you harvest them, so it's a little bit of like a farming helper. It's also giving you double XP and loot from Hunter Rumors, which is super, super good. Jarred Implings, their loot is also going to be doubled and noted, and the jars won't break, and the Quetzal Whistle will not lose charges if you take this one. Whew, that is quite the list for Woodsman. Friendly Forager, this one is strictly just herb lore, which we'll talk about in a second. It's going to give you a Forager's Pouch, which acts like the silk-lined herb pouch in the main game, meaning it can hold 100 of each grimy herb. Now, when you're woodcutting, fishing, mining, or hunting, you will randomly find an herb. These finds are limited to your level, plus 25, so essentially you're going to be capped at finding Ranars at the start, which are going to be the highest tier herb. But as you find herbs, they're going to give you a little bit of XP as well, which does scale with the League's multiplier. So this is going to push you up through those early herb levels pretty quickly. Now, one nice thing about this is if you want to target farm certain herbs, you can only find herbs that you have space for in the pouch. Meaning, if you let the pouch fill up and you take out a very specific herb from it, which you can do at any point, so you don't have to be at a bank for this one, then you will only find that open herb slot. So if you wanted to farm Ranars, you let the pouch fill up, and then you pull your Ranars out, and now as you're gathering, the only thing you're going to find are Ranars. Now, alongside this, the relic is also going to let you process all of your herb actions at once, so essentially making unfinished potions and potions will all be done at the same time. Secondaries are going to have a 90% save rate, and this does become 100% once you get the Mixology Goggles, which everybody's going to have access to since we start in Varlamore, and all potions that you create are going to be 4 dose. Now for the last one, Hotfoot, you're going to get these boots that you can wear. While you're wearing them, you're going to passively get agility XP while running, which is related to your agility level. When you're fishing, the fish that you catch are going to be cooked, and when you're mining, the ore is automatically going to be smelted. Now, on top of that, whether you're wearing the boots or not, picking up termites or marks of grace are going to finish your current lap on agility courses, so that's super cool. It's also going to give you 10k GP, so it's a little bit of a money solve. Finishing laps count as 2 laps, and it's also going to give you an additional 25% bonus on the completion XP. Marks of Grace have a 33% chance, that's just a flat 33% chance to spawn on rooftop courses, so that's really good. And you can't fail agility obstacles or burn food. Plus, on top of all of this, you're going to get 2 times the termites and 10 times the crystal shards. So a lot of agility help there. So the way that I look at these, Woodsman, again, is kind of like your early point pusher. It's going to go really well with something like Abundance because you're getting access to both a big Hunter solve, which is a big part of Varlamore, and you're also getting access to a quick fletching solve. This relic by itself will probably unlock 200 mil fletching for you pretty quickly, and because Abundance is going to give you a level boost, you can access these methods a little faster, and it's also going to give you a lot of GP since it's giving you 2 GP per XP. So if you're getting 200 mil fletching, you're walking away with 400 mil GP. So that's going to be a really, really powerful combo early on. Now, this is also assisting you with farming. Between Hunter Rumors and the Herb Seeds, you could maybe say that this helps a little bit with Herblore. I don't think it's going to be crazy from this relic. It's probably not enough to fully solve Herblore for you, but it does get you out of some of those early levels without having to take the Herblore relic specifically. Now, Implings are also really good for clues, so this is a good clue helper for you as well. Now, moving on to Friendly Forager, this is a really big Herblore solve. It's going to enable a really easy, like 50 mil Herblore, and it's a decent 200 mil skill to solve for, but I also think it's a little too one-dimensional for being in tier 2 against these other 2 relics. So I don't love that for this, and especially because we're going to get more chances to solve Herblore later. But I'll talk about that as we get there. For Hotfoot, this is mainly for agility. This does also help you with cooking and smithing for both of your gathering relics as well. So Enhanced Harvest and Barbarian Gathering, really, really like this one. And if you have an area that has a lot of agility tasks, agility courses, what have you, then this is also going to be really beneficial because not only is it speeding up laps and counting the laps as 2, it's also meaning you can't fail. It's also meaning your agility level's higher, so you get access to those things sooner. So something like Asgardia, which has a rooftop course, has the Graceful Shop, that's going to be super helpful. Cairn, which has a couple of different agility courses that'll likely have tasks associated to them, Monkey Laps, things like that. And Mauritania, which has the Hallowed Sepulchre, which will probably have tasks associated to it, and you're probably going to have to get all the way to 92, because that's the level you need for the final floor. So if you want to complete those tasks, you either take this relic, or you AFK your Barbarian Gathering for a very long time, or you legitimately train agility, which sounds horrible. Don't do that if you're going Mauritania. You're going to have a bad time. So, okay, let's put them on the board. Things are going to start shifting around a little bit. Woodsman, I'm actually going to put in A tier. I think because it's so powerful early on, it does deserve its credit. I know I've been memeing on it, kind of like the Abundance XP, but Hunter does suck as a skill to train, and having pretty early access to a potential 200 mil skill could mean a lot of points for you. Probably going to see this again when I give you like a dragon rushing build here at the end, but I digress. Hotfoot, it's a good relic. You know, agility is a pain in the butt to train, so having a passive agility solve is good. I don't think cooking is like a crazy solve normally because cooking in general is pretty quick. Smithing, this is nice, but it is only giving you bars, so it feels kind of like a mid-tier relic to me. You could maybe make an argument for it to be an A tier, but it's also going to be helped a little bit by specific areas. And if you don't have those, this probably isn't as good of a pick. And because A is getting a little crowded, I have shifted down Endless Harvest. Sorry, Endless Harvest gang. It's still a good relic. And then we have our first bin relic. Hello there, foraging in the bin. Welcome to the bottom of the list. Like I mentioned, it's just too one-dimensional, and we're going to have a lot of other help for Herblore in the rest of the relics. So while it is cool to have it here, I just don't think it's that necessary for people. Welcome to Tier 3. This is the Teleport tier. This one will actually be pretty quick. I'm not going to go over every spot that you can teleport to, but I am going to give you which areas I think these function well in. Now, as a reminder for what they do, we've got Bank Heist, which teleports you to banks and deposit boxes. We've got Evil Eye, which is going to teleport you to bosses. And then we have Map of Garbage, which is going to teleport you to agility shortcuts on the worst side of them, which is bad most of the time. You don't actually need the agility level for the shortcut, but considering it puts you on like the less optimal side, you sort of want the agility level to take the shortcuts. Just a pain in the butt. So in terms of the areas that they work well in, Evil Eye definitely has the most like broad appeal because there's just a lot of bosses in the game, and those are the things that you're going to want to farm. So, like, Mauritania especially, you want to take this because farming out barrows is going to be a pain in the butt otherwise. This does have a teleport that takes you both to the top of the mound and to the barrow's chest, so it's going to save you a lot of time for that boss. But there's also just a lot of bosses that are a pain in the butt, like the Zani's to get to. You don't really want to walk there. Braxar's kind of far before you get the teleport, so that one's also a big time save. Any of these areas that have a lot of bosses are really inconvenient bosses to get to. See a lot of benefits, like Wilderness has a lot. Varlamore, I do think that this is a good early helper for Varlamore because you've got Huey, you've got Amoxicatl, you've got the Moon's bosses, and later you'll have Doom as well. Fremnik, DKs are a pain in the butt. They're just out in the middle of nowhere under that agility dungeon. And then you have, like, Duke and Muspa, they're out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, you can sometimes get teleports out to some of these bosses, but again, you're not going to have those teleports right away. So just a lot of good stuff for Evil Eye. Probably my biggest recommendation is just like a general teleport relic. Bank Heist has okay coverage. I probably like it the most in Taranwin compared to the other relics, just because Taranwin doesn't have a lot of agility shortcuts or bosses, so you do get a little extra coverage here. The desert, it's kind of doing a similar job to Evil Eye, so I don't mind this one in the desert. Kenner doesn't have a lot of bosses, has a lot of towns, has a lot of banks, a lot of deposit boxes littered around, so again, pretty good here. And also for Asgarnia, it does a okay job. Not quite the same job as Evil Eye, but it does give you pretty decent mobility around the area. And then we have Map of Garbage. Well, it's very specific. In Kourend, there's maybe a good use case for rune crafting, so it's like a rune crafting solve, it's fine. In Asgarnia, this is maybe one of the best areas for the map. The agility shortcuts here do almost the exact same job as Evil Eye. There are a few, like Whisperer, where you can't quite get to it, but I think it does a good enough job where I'm like, if you really wanted to take the map and you have these two areas, maybe it's justified. Kandarin, again, it's a large area. There are a lot of agility shortcuts. None of them are like super useful, but Kandarin doesn't really benefit from any of these teleport relics, really. So, it's not really like a negative or a positive here, but I guess since it's big and it has a lot of agility shortcuts, then sure. There's maybe a case to be made for Wilderness and Slayer because a lot of the Slayer creatures in the Wilderness are next to agility shortcuts. However, I think I would still take Evil Eye in the Wilderness just because you're probably going to be farming out the bosses more so, and even the boss Slayers get you pretty close to where you'd want to be for Slayer most of the time. So I'm not that thrilled about the map in the Wilderness, but it is there for you if you want it. So adding him to the board, Evil Eye, I'm putting it at an A. You know what? We're in leagues. You want to be doing a lot of boss farming. I think it's just going to be really, really good for like 90% of people. Bank Heist in the map, Bank Heist, it's too area specific, and the game tends to be balanced around banks not being very close to the stuff that you want to do, so it doesn't feel that powerful as a teleport relic. I am saving the map from the bin, so maybe I should call it Map of Alacrity now. I think there's just enough use cases where I'm like, maybe, but it's definitely going to be the absolute bottom of C tier for the entirety of this video. I don't care how much stuff shifts around. Like, it is staying right here. All right, time to move on to Tier 4. Tier 4 is actually a pretty interesting tier, probably one of our first more difficult choices between all of the relics. Starting with Transmutation here on the left, when you take this, you're going to obtain a Transmutation Ledger, which when equipped counts as infinite nature runes. Your alchemy spells are also going to be converted into Alchemical Divergence and Alchemical Convergence. Now you can still use the basic alchemy spells. You just use the ledger here to like change it back and forth, so don't worry, they're not going to like disappear on you. Now, what these alchemical divergence convergence spells do is it lets you shift raw resources up and down one tier. Convergence goes up, divergence goes down. When you cast this, it'll convert up to 10 items at once, so like 10 raw shrimp, into the next highest tier, like raw sardines. Now, this does work typically on base resources, but I'll circle back and talk about that here in a second. The spell can be auto-cast. This does not count for your normal alchemy spells, so you still have to manually cast normal alchemy, but for these special spells, they can be auto-cast. It's going to give you 10 XP per item converted. Since you're doing 10 at a time, that's 100 XP per cast, and this is multiplied by the League's XP multiplier. And remember, combat's going to have a higher XP multiplier, so it's even more because we're talking magic. Now, when it comes to the resources side, when I say base or raw resources, what I really mean are things like hides, seeds, logs, ore, bones, fish, etc. Now, gems are going to be capped at Dragonstone, and you're not going to find bars in the list of things that it works on. So it's only going to be ores, which is a little unfortunate. Moving over to the next one, Conniving Clues. When opening a clue reward casket, you're going to have a chance at clue contracts, which are essentially Clue Compass from the previous league. Lets you teleport to your current clue step. You are going to get more of the higher tier of clue that you open, or at least it has a chance to give you more. But that said, farming easy clues is probably going to be the fastest way to build up those teleports. Now, when you open a casket, you also have a chance at getting the same tier clue again, so it's just going to help you keep rolling forward on those clues. Caskets are also going to give you the maximum number of reward rolls, so that's super nice. Drop rates for clues from imps now go down to 1 out of 15, so you're getting them very, very commonly from here. Clue vessels are now 10 times more common as well. So that's mining, fishing, woodcutting. Does not affect thieving. We'll talk about that here in the next tier, but it's not going to be as big of a deal as you might think. Clues are also always the lowest number of steps possible, and it allows you to skip emote clues and follow the bard clues. So in general, this is just helping you a ton with clues. And then our last relic of the tier, Butler's Bell. You're going to get a bell. It's going to let you summon a demon butler, and you can set him to either gather, which are going to be things like ore, fish, logs, flax, herbs, and they do have specific rates. I'm going to give them to you here. Ore is 8 a minute, fish is 14 a minute, logs are 10 a minute, flax is 50 a minute, and herbs are 10 a minute. That's going to be important here in a second. Now, you can also set him to gather and then process things. This is going to be at half the rates I just mentioned, but it's going to net you bars, cooked fish, planks, bowstring, and unfinished potions. Now, something else that's really cool with the butler is when collecting processed items from him, you're going to get a 10 XP drop in the related skill per item. So, smithing, cooking, fletching, crafting, herb lore, fletching's for the planks, and this XP can be multiplied by the league's XP multiplier. I'm going to give an example here in a minute so you can kind of think about what this means from an XP perspective. Now, this does function similarly to Kingdom of Miscellanea, so he doesn't care about your skill levels, but he's also not going to always give you like the best tier something. So it's sort of like a random assortment. It is related to a drop table. So kind of expect like the biggest stack you're going to get is going to be the mid-tier resources, and then you're going to get less of the higher tier and lower tier stuff. And again, just as an example, that means if you set him on ore, he's going to bring you back clay, iron, mithril, adamant, and runite. And it's going to be a different spread. So you'll get a little bit of clay, a good amount of iron, a good amount of mithril, an okay amount of adamant, and a small amount of runite. Okay, so let's talk about the interactions. Transmutation, as I was kind of hinting at there, this is basically your free 200 mil magic solve. And we are going to have high XP tasks for combat skills, so this can be that for you. It's also going to support all of these other skills because you can transmute things up to their better tiers, or bring things down to whatever tier you need. So if you're low crafting, maybe you just want a bunch of sapphires, convert everything into sapphires. And then once you get to the level for emeralds, you convert everything up to emeralds. So you can just follow through that path on all of these different skills, which I do really like. It also has an interesting side effect where you can get resources that you wouldn't otherwise have in your areas. So things like superior dragon bones, things like wrath runes, redwood logs, angler fish. So there is some potential use cases for that there, depending on what your build is going to look like, what you want to get, what your areas are. Now, the one downside of this relic is you do have to get the base resources yourself. So it is a little bit of a bummer. You have to build up a stack, so it's not going to be like immediately useful for all of these supporting skills. It is going to be immediately useful for magic because even if you only have a stack of 10 things, you can just convert it back and forth using both convergence and divergence. So you send it up a tier, send it down a tier. So I'm not necessarily worried about the magic solve, but you're not really going to feel the power of this in those other skills until you've maybe got like 1,000 or 2,000 of whatever resource in that skill, and then it's going to start feeling pretty good. Now, on the Conniving Clues relic, I think this is probably going to be your point relic, because clues are typically worth a good amount of points. We don't know the exact number of points yet, but I think is like the safe pick for points. It's probably going to be this one. I'll also just say, if you hate clues and you just can't make yourself do them, this is going to help with that a lot. Be able to teleport to your steps. They're all going to be like basically no steps, and you can skip all of the annoying stuff. I do really like that. And then we have Butler's Bell. Now, because he can process things, I think that's where you're going to want to send him most of the time because he's going to give you a decent amount of XP in some of these skills. On the video where I talked about it originally, I said the XP wasn't good. A lot of you corrected my math, and I just want to give an example here. Let's say you put him on making unfinished potions for yourself. Well, considering the rate at which he does that, it's going to be 5 unfinished potions a minute. So once per day, assuming you're at the 16 times multiplier, when you go to claim all of those unfinished potions from him, he's going to give you 1.1 million Herblore XP, which is a lot. And that's one of the smaller skills. Smithing is the other smaller skill. Things like crafting, cooking, and fletching are going to give you even more than that per day. And that's not even accounting for the fact that he's building up those resources for you. So not only are you getting 1 million Herblore XP a day from this guy making unfinished potions for you, you can then turn around and make the potions yourself for even more XP. So this is basically like an AFK solve for these 5 skills, and it's also going to support you if you want to speed that up on top of what he's doing for you already. But you don't even have to. You could just leave him on herbs for a week, and there's your 99 Herblore, just about. I mean, you're done, which is pretty cool. Now, he does also give you access to anglerfish if you send him to gather or cook fish, because that is on his drop table, so it can help you get a higher healing food there if you didn't take like transmutation and you don't have Karen. So that is also a nice little side benefit. I also want to say this is the tier where all of these are kind of like a money solve for you in some regard. So if you are struggling on cash, clues are going to give you a lot of alchables. The butler's just giving you materials, so you can send him to get ore or bars and then convert them into items and sell them or alchem or do whatever. And likewise with transmutation, go and mine some copper ore, turn it to runite ore, just sell that stuff straight away. It's going to be worth a decent amount of money. So, okay, let's put them on the board. Butler's Bell. Because of the XP, you all have convinced me. I think this is an S tier relic pick. Yes, it is going to be slower than if you're like actively playing the game. But the nice thing is the Butler is working nonstop, whether you're playing or not. And that is, at least for Herblore and smithing, a very, very good solve. Maybe even crafting as well if you don't have a great way of solving that, because processing crafting materials is kind of a pain in the butt. And I just really like the fact that it's super ultra passive if you want it to be. The league is going to be 2 months long. You're going to be able to get a lot of XP out of the Butler. So that is going to be the first S tier relic. As for the rest of them, transmutation, I mean, I like it. I do think it's fun. I don't think magic is that crazy of a solve, but there is some ways to use that if you're going to be like rushing down the combat task or something. I don't know how worth it that is. So I'm kind of just putting it here in the middle. Like, it's cool to move your resources around, but compared to something like Golden God in the past, which passively solved prayer and magic and gave you a bunch of money, which helped, I don't know that this is going to feel quite as powerful, especially because you have to get the resources yourself, which you will eventually get, but it's just going to take a little while to come online. Likewise with clues, I'm putting it down here in C tier. It's not that I hate the clue relic. I do think it's really good for clues, but kind of like the Herblore relic, it's a little bit too one-dimensional for my liking. Now, clues are typically a lot of points, so that does keep it from going into the bin for me. But again, it's just, compared to the other two in the tier, which are doing a lot more for you, I kind of think I would prefer going the other 2 relics over this one most of the time. All right, here comes tier 5. This one is also going to be another difficult choice, I think. Starting with Nature's Accord, this one's going to give you the Fairy Mushroom, which is a teleport item, which is kind of wild. We got a teleport item here in tier 5. This is going to give you teleports to both fairy rings, spirit trees, and leprechauns. So that can be really nice, especially if you picked up the map of garbage. You might be hurting for those teleports right about now. It's also going to give you 10 times yield from all patches, and the harvests are automatically noted, so it's just a nice quality of life thing. You do get additional XP from those extra resources, so this is essentially like 10 times farming XP. Plants are never going to die, and there's a 20% chance to save seeds. This also works in Tithe Farm, so you can just plant your whatever stuff as you're going around Tithe Farm, harvest them up, you're going to get a ton of XP and points. So very, very solid farming solve, and also going to help you a lot with Herblore because the secondaries are also farmable. So you're getting herbs, you're getting the flower patch, maybe for like Lipport roots. So this one is doing 2 things for you. Next up, we have Larcenist. It is going to give you a 100% success rate on all thieving actions, which is going to make training thieving really nice. It's going to let you auto re-pickpocket NPCs, and you will have a 10 times coin pouch capacity when you take this, so it's going to be 280 by default. You get more if you have the Artie Diary done in Kandarin. It's going to let you auto re-steal from stalls. Stalls are never going to deplete, and guards can't catch you. Now, non-thieving relic enjoyers could come by and wipe out a stall for you. Probably won't happen that much, especially on the higher tier stalls, just because they're not great when it comes to normal thieving XP for someone who didn't take this relic. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal, but do keep that in mind. You are also going to be getting 10 times loot from pickpocketing. Now, for coin pouches, that's only going to be 1 coin pouch, and the rest are going to be opened automatically as cash, so it's not going to take away from your AFK. You're also going to get 10 times loot from stalls and 10 times loot from the far more valuable stealing. Plus, all of the loot is going to be noted. That's super nice for NPCs that have relatively small drop tables, and especially for NPCs that do not have coin pouches, so you'd be able to infinitely AFK pickpocket there. Well, minus the 30-minute timer, but you get what I mean. And because thieving is giving you a lot of money from coin pouches and for the other stuff, yeah, it is also going to be a really solid money solve for yourself. The last one here is going to be Soul Harvest. When you kill something, bones are dropped, and they're going to be converted into soul shards. Higher tier bones are converted into more soul shards, so it is going to scale as you're farming out different types of NPCs. Farming XP is also going to give you soul shards at a rate of 1 shard to 4 XP. Now, this is related to the base farming XP. It's not impacted by the League's multiplier, doesn't work with Nature's Accord. So it's not going to be like crazy, but trees also give a lot of XP, so if you're doing some like tree farming, for example, you're going to get a lot of soul shards from that still. Okay, what are soul shards doing for you? Well, they are a stackable resource, which can be used on the following things. They can act as pure essence for rune crafting, and that's like you just sitting next to the altar spam clicking and you're done with rune crafting. And they can also act as bone shards at the libation bowl without the need for the wine. That is the Barlamore prayer method. So again, it's basically letting you sit at the bowl and just spam click these out. Although for the bowl, you do have to go and recharge your prayer every once in a while, but there's a prayer altar close by, so it's going to make that really easy. Now, for the prayer method, it's going to sacrifice 100 at a time, just like it normally would for bone shards. And the 100 sacrifice is going to be worth 550 prayer XP as a base. This will be multiplied by the League's XP multiplier. Now, there are some specific interactions for at least 2 of these relics. Tithe Farm, like I already mentioned, for Nature's Accord. This is basically just free 200 mil farming. And you can also get seed packs from there, so if you have any tasks related to seeds, maybe you want a Hespori seed, you can use the points for that. You can get the farming outfit. It's going to be super nice for Kourend especially, but it is also good for other areas just because maybe you don't want to focus on tree runs. This can also be an herblore solve for you as well, so it does have other use cases. Now for thieving, there's some more interesting interactions. Kandarin has a lot of clue pickpocketing NPCs, so you can build up all of the high tier clues from thieving. Yeah, okay, conniving clues doesn't help you with thieving, but we're talking about like you're AFK on a hero in the middle of Ardoin for the next 20 minutes before you hit the coin pouch limit. Even though the rate for the clues are typically like 1 out of 100, 1 out of 200, you're going to get a lot of clues over time. I'm just telling you right now, like, it is going to be really powerful for clues, even without the boost from something like conniving clues. Now, in Mauritania, you have blood shards. I don't think this is like a super huge deal, but it is going to be really fun pulling 10 blood shards at once. They also alch for a pretty good amount, so if you're struggling for money, again, that's going to help you. But really, the biggest thing for this relic is in Taranwin. Getting enhanced crystal teleport seeds, which you can break down into crystal shards, that is going to translate to the fastest crafting and smithing method in the game, which is making the crystal armor. Now, you do have to get armor seeds from the gauntlet, but man, once you get there, I think in the main game, it's close to like 13 mil XP an hour. So there you go. Your 200 mil is probably solved as soon as you get there. For Soul Harvest, yeah, it doesn't really have any like super fancy, interesting interactions. Just the fact that you can sit next to Rune Crafting Altar, though, is really nice. Now, the other thing I wanted to say about this tier, this is where you're going to see Abundance's GP generation really pick up. So it's been kind of helping you along the way. If you didn't take Woodsman, though, you probably aren't like super swimming in cash. You got a couple of mil on you, which is good. But here, because these relics all individually solve their skills so hard, this is going to give you a lot of GP. Kourend just became a money printer if you're in Tithe Farm. Thieving is already really fast XP and good money, so this is just kind of double dipping in that. And for the rune crafting side, I mean, you're sitting there spam clicking an altar, you've got like 200 mil rune crafting in probably an hour, then yeah, it's going to give you a lot of GP. So putting these on the board, since things are shifting around, I feel like I'm going to be roasted for pushing abundance up into S tier. I'm just running out of space at A tier because my camera's over here. You know what I mean? So abundance, congratulations. You're going to be the second S tier. It is a good relic. It is good for points. I like the plus 10 boost. It's just the XP in this is trash, but you don't really care about that. Now, the Thieving Relic, I think, is probably the strongest of the bunch, so I'm putting it in A tier ahead of the other ones. The Farming Relic is also quite strong. I like that it solves Herb Lore as well, so it can go here. Soul Harvest, I mean, I hate rune crafting, don't get me wrong. I would take this just to solve rune crafting for myself, but I think for like the majority of people, the fact that it's solving rune crafting and prayer is not that big of a deal most of the time. You've already got the Varlamore training method, you're probably going to be okay. So this is really like a rune crafting solve, and because it's so one-dimensional, kind of like the Clue and the Herb Relic, I just can't see myself putting it above higher than B, but it is really, really powerful for the skills that it solves. So I do like this, and I especially like the idea of sitting at a rune crafting altar, just spam clicking for that XP. We are over halfway done now, tier 6. This one I think is an easy choice personally, but let me tell you what each of the relics do first. We've got Grimoire here on the left. It's going to unlock all of the spell books and all of the standard prayers. This one is very, very area and build specific, so mileage may vary with this one. The second one, Eternal Sustenance. Food isn't consumed when eaten, so that is a nice convenience item. You can cap out at around a 40 heal if you get a slightly better food than Shark, and then you've got access to Karambwans. Everybody's going to get this. Now, I did hear a lot of you in yesterday's video talking about how good you think this is going to be for yourself, and I understand. If you feel like you're not very good at PVM, this feels like it's going to be a really powerful item. But what I think a lot of people aren't considering is, outside of maybe like the early game, you're going to be really, really powerful, even if you don't take healing in the demonic packs. Now, you think about most bosses, they have like 200, 300 HP. You think about something like Bandos. Now, because the damage per second is going to be so high for so many builds in the league, Bandos is going to be alive for all of 5 seconds. So, like, you're going to delete most bosses in the game, and you're going to get to that point pretty quickly, because you can have a really powerful build being even like 10 points deep into the demonic packs tree. Now, this is going to be good for some of the tougher or longer fights, so things like Inferno or Colosseum. There's just not that many places where it's going to be good, and the other problem with this is it doesn't save you from one-shot mechanics. So if Zuck hits you, I don't care if you have an infinite Shark, you're getting dropped. Now, it's going to help you get through the waves, but you can see kind of where some of these limitations are, and then you take into account the fact that there is healing in the combat mastery tree for most styles. I mean, range, sure, it doesn't really have much going for it, but for magic and melee, I know you may not think it's a lot. It's going to be a lot, because remember, nothing is staying alive for longer than like 5 seconds for you for most of the bosses. Now, those super endgame stuff, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely going to help you there, but just as like your average player going through the game, besides the fact that it's a convenience item for your inventory, I really think it's a bit of a trap for people. And the reason I say it's a trap is because we have Culling Spree in the same tier. What this one does is when getting a Slayer task, you're given the option to pick between 3 of them. Now, one of those options will be a boss task if you have boss tasks enabled. And man, most bosses can be tasks. Now, also keep in mind, Slayer perks with this relic are going to become free, so things like unlocking the boss task capability, it's going to be free. You can also set your task number between 5 and 200, so if you want to farm points, you set it at 5. If you want to go and farm out whatever it is that you just got assigned, you can put it at 200. When slaying a superior monster, there's a 50% chance another superior is going to spawn. Superior spawn rates are also going to be improved just in general in the league, so it's going to be more common anyway. But this lets you kind of dice roll once you get the first one and just keep rolling that forward. Going to be really good for the rare superior Slayer drops, and also really good for Slayer XP. Superior creatures are also going to drop 1 to 3 elite clues every time, so super good for that. Your character is going to act like they have the Slayer Helm eye on at all times, and since a lot of stuff can be tasked, that's going to mean essentially just like 15% more damage. And the Rune Pouch, Herb Sack, and Looting Bag are also going to be free from the shop. Now, you talk about DPS, this is just a straight DPS increase. Bandos just went from living for 5 seconds to living for 4 seconds. So you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be really strong. But all right, let's put them on the board here. I think Culling Spree is just so strong. It's going to S tier straight away. I think all those benefits are really nice, and it benefits a lot of people as well. While you could maybe say, like, it loses a little bit if you go to some specific areas like Mauritania or Fremnik, because you can get the Slayer Helm bonuses from there. The other pieces that it's doing are also just really, really good. I probably wouldn't drop it below like an A tier, even if I was going to those regions. Like, there's still a very solid chance that I take them. Now, for Grimoire, like I said, it's very area specific, so I'm just dropping it in the middle here. It could be really good for you if you want something like Ancients, but you don't want to go to the desert. Or maybe you just don't need everything because your areas already cover that. Or you're like, if you're going melee, it's not that useful for you, then it probably belongs in the bin. So because of that, it gets to sit in the middle. Stinky Shark, I would love to put it in the bin, but there are some specific use cases where I'm like, fine, it has a use. It's definitely better than something like the map of garbage over here, so you know what, it can stay in C tier. Again, I feel like this is a bit of a trap, because Culling Spree is going to be really, really good for most people, and you know, maybe you have some like specific build things that you want to go for Grimoire. Plus, I mean, Grimoire is also like a DPS increase because you're getting the prayers for it. So I don't know. I mean, I think both of these are probably going to serve you better just in general. But I do understand for the harder content in the game, maybe you want to take this. And we're going to have another choice anyway. So let me move on to tier 7. Here's what we're looking like for tier 7. We have got Flow State here on the left. This is just going to speed up a whole bunch of actions to 2 ticks. And I'm just going to kind of read through these so you have some idea of them. We've got mining, woodcutting, fishing, so all your gathering skills. We've got cooking, fire making, using bones on an altar, fletching, smithing ores and bars, leather crafting, glass blowing, flax spinning, harvesting farming products. I don't think that one's a big deal. Alchemy spells, which includes the transmutation ones. That one's super cool. And it's also going to give you some benefits for a couple of minigames like Wintertod, the roots, fletching them, chopping them is going to be faster. Lighting the brazier is also going to be faster. For Temporos, the fishing is going to be faster. I mean, also cooking is just innately enabled as a part of this thing. So that's going to be cool. And then stealing valuables in Barlamore. Now, I do think if you went Abundance, you're probably going to lean towards this relic because it's going to help you with so many skills and speeding them up. Maybe the Transmutation one, because getting those spells faster is kind of cool, but I also think it's a little unnecessary because you cap out somewhere at like 12,000 items transmuted per hour. So this would bring it up to 24,000, but I mean, man, that's like such a huge stack of stuff. It doesn't really matter at that point. You know what I mean? And this one is going to be up against Reloaded, which is pick something that you missed earlier. So when I was talking about Stinky Shark before, you know what? If you want to come back and you want to reload into it, go for it. And I think it's just more compelling of a case because tier 6 and tier 5 are all really, really strong relics. Yeah, they are specific solves, like Flow State is helping you with a lot more things, but you have so much coverage from these skills in other relics already, it just doesn't feel that good to me. Now, it will be, I think, more fun because, especially if you have like Barbarian Gathering, you're now punching trees twice as fast, going all Chuck Norris over there, but outside of something like that, Reloaded just gives you so many different options, and I put all of the relics that I would consider coming back for, so you won't see literally everything in here, but it's a pretty good spread where, like, there's a solid case to be made for coming back for any of the stuff here. Now, again, that's going to be really like area and build specific. Maybe none of these are appealing to you, and then you can go for Flow State. It is going to be a really powerful relic if you do pick it up, because it's almost doubling all of your skilling actions. But, man, I don't know. All of these relics are just so good over here. It's so hard to pass up getting a second one. And because of that, I am putting Reloaded in S tier. Yeah, it doesn't have power by itself, but man, I mean, so many of the relics that you could go back for are in the higher part of this rating already. So, like, I think this is just giving you so many good options for building. Whereas Flow State, it's not a bad relic. It's just there's so many other relics kind of helping you with what Flow State would help with that I don't think it's going to do that much for you. Like, it is still strong, so I'm not going to put it below B, but it's just like half of the things are already solved by the time you get out to tier 7 that I just don't think it's going to matter for you. But okay, it is time for the final tier, tier 8. We got the Executioner's Axe today. That's pretty cool. It's going to give you the Sage's Axe, so slightly different name, which does count as a throwing weapon. It's got a range of 6 tiles, so it should be able to hit everything in the game, including Zuck. I saw some people talking about they don't think it could reach there, but it does. You just have to be like pretty much in the center if you want it to reach. And what this is going to be doing is it lets you execute enemies at 20% health. We'll talk about some of the use cases here in a minute, though. The second is going to be Minion. You're going to get a Minion Whistle, which essentially just spawns a super powerful Thrall for 30 minutes. Now, this Thrall is going to start out relatively weak, but you can feed it unique Zamorak items to increase the max hit by 2. and that's going to go up to 5 total sacrifices or 10 total max hit damage. Once you get to that point, it is probably the most consistently powerful DPS between the three, at least in terms of the minimal effort anyway. It does depend a little bit, but again, we'll talk about it. Now, this minion is also going to be picking up all of your loot automatically for you, and it's going to note it, which is super, super nice. Now, the last relic over here is the Flask of Fervor. This is going to give you the Flask of Fervor. No surprise there. When you use the flask, it's going to full heal you, give you full prayer, and give you full spec bar. Plus, it's also going to trigger an AoE explosion around you. It's covering a 7x7 area, so 3 tiles away from you in every direction. The damage that it deals is 60% of your prayer level 3 times. So if you're 99 prayer, basically 60 damage times 3, it's 180. I know it does 1 less, so it's 157 capped, but same difference, really. Now, the item itself has a 3-minute cooldown, which sounds kind of long, but the cooldown can be reduced by 0.6 seconds for every 10 plus damage hit splat that you do. This does scale up as well, so if you hit a 20, then it reduces the cooldown by 1.2 seconds. If you hit a 30, 1.8 seconds, etc. So getting high hits or getting really fast 10 hits are probably going to be the way to go, and realistically, you're probably getting a cooldown to around like a minute and a half or a minute for most builds in the game. Now, something to keep in mind is none of these relics are going to work on Yama, so that's a bit of a rip to Kurend. Unfortunate. Now, in terms of these special use cases, where do I see this being used? The Executioner's Axe, it does work on any boss. Now, kind of like what I was saying with the Stinky Shark, this isn't super helpful for like the lower tier bosses, just because they don't have a high enough health pool. So like Bandos, for example, yeah, you can execute him at like 60 health, but also your max hit on your build is like 100. So how much are you going to get to use that? But what this is going to help a lot with are bosses that have a ton of health or phases or both. And most of the time it is both. So things like Echo bosses, this is going to be really good. There's going to be some like area specific bosses as well, like Phazani's Nightmare. Raids, this is going to be super helpful. Desert Treasure 2 bosses, they're hard mode variants. This is going to be super nice. Corporeal Beast has a huge health pool. Nex has phases and a huge health pool. Doom, I mean, even Zuck, it can reach there. So getting to skip the last little bit of the Inferno, kind of getting to skip the entire healing phase in the Inferno, which would be really nice. Maybe some cheesy stuff with Huey. Cheese some drops over there. That could be fun. Now, minion functions is kind of like your AFK option. It's the chill thing. You just summon the minion up. He just goes to work on whatever it is you're fighting. He's going to use both the best style against what you're fighting, and he's going to do some AoE attacks if you're in like a multi-combat area. So this is just a very, very chill way of increasing your damage. And keep in mind, stuff in RuneScape drops a lot of random supplies. So like this can help you solve some skills or at least support them. You just pick the right mob to go through, get a bunch of herbs, get some different bars, maybe get bones for prayer, things like that. And I really like this pairing with transmutation because for a lot of the resources, you can transition them up. So like maybe you want to go into a multi-area like Dust Devils and farm out bone drops. You can then transmute those into superior bones and boom, Slayer is just solved for you. You don't even have to think about it. Now for Flask, this is kind of like the sweaty min-max DPS one. Yeah, I mean, it does also kind of function as an uh-oh button, but as an uh-oh button, I mean, it doesn't really save you from being one-shot like similar types of relics have in the past. It does give you a 2.4 second window where you're immune to damage, essentially, but, I mean, how are you going to time that? You've got to be really on the ball to get a lot of use out of this. Same with, like, the special, you know, it's giving you the special back, so yeah, it's giving you more damage there, but man, I mean, you're going to be clicking a lot for this thing. So let's put them on the board. Of course, it's tier 8. They're all pretty powerful. Minion, I really just like this one. I think especially the fact that it's picking up your items for you, that pushes it into S tier for me. For the other two, I'm putting them into high A. There is definitely a case to be made for these going into S tier. It's really just going to depend on how you play and what bosses you want to farm out. Now, if I'm taking like Moritania, this one probably becomes S tier for me because getting to skip a huge portion of the raid for like every one of the bosses, getting to skip a phase of Phazani's Nightmare, that's all going to be really nice. This is also super helpful for like Echo bosses, Desert Treasure 2 bosses. There's a good reason to take this one, but something's got to be an A tier. Similarly for the Flask, it's a lot of damage, but man, I'm just not that sweaty of a player. If you are, more power to you. This is probably the best DPS out of the three, but it's just going to be so much clicking that I don't think I can do it. Maybe you can do it. More power to you if that's you. But this is the final ranking for all of the relics. What do you think? How'd we do? I am going to be talking about builds as well, so you got this little image in mind? Because it doesn't actually matter what they're ranked. Certain builds can benefit from going to certain relics. You might be surprised what you find here. So I want to start with the AFK build. I know a lot of people just don't have that much time to play, so this would be my general recommendation. Now feel free to tweak this depending on your areas or your play preferences, but I will say for these, Endless Harvest, definitely a good pickup. Hotfoot for just AFK solving your cooking, your smithing. It's also giving you AFK agility as an option. You can run around a fountain forever, just follow some people, get in a little train. So that's going to be another skill solve for you. I think Evil Eye, just getting yourself 2 bosses, makes it like you don't have to think about it, right? These other 2, you kind of have to think about what you're doing. This one is just like, I want to go to Nex, boom, I'm at Nex. I want to go to Yama, boom, I'm at Yama, right? So it's very easy to use. Butler's Bell as well. I mean, this dude's going to be working for you whether you're online or offline. It's really hard to beat that. Gives you some good coverage in a couple of skills as well. Even though it overlaps some with Hotfoot, I mean, it's just helping you a lot. You know, that you can't beat just the total AFK that comes from this one. Larcenist, I prefer over the other 2 just because now thieving is AFK for you. It's also going to help support crafting as well. You're going to be building up crafting supplies if you need that, if Butler didn't just solve that for you already. And I would recommend here Stinky Shark. I know, it's like I trashed on it so much, but you know what? If you are coming for the AFK build, you probably don't want to try that hard. You don't want to worry about inventory management. Then this one makes a lot of sense. Now, coming into Reloaded, I don't think Flow State does a ton for you. So I'm going to lean towards Reloaded. I think this gives you a couple of options. If you want to do something fun with like farming, you can come back here. Maybe you need Grimoire for like some specific part of your build. Otherwise, my general recommendation would be making sure you pick up Culling Spree because this gives you a free Slayer solve. Also makes Slayer really chill. Plus, it's giving you more damage on basically any boss that you want to farm. That's a really hard one to pass up. And then, of course, Interior 8 Minion. It's the AFK option. He's picking up all your loot for you. You don't have to think about it. You spawn him. He's there for 30 minutes. He's picking up your boss loot. He's picking up your Slayer loot. He's picking up whatever loot from whatever you're killing. And he's doing a good job at it as well. Now, next up, I've got the Dragon Rush. So this is, you want to just like hit the ground running with leagues. You want to get the absolute most points the fastest possible. Then this is what you're looking like. Now, I know I've memed on these 2 relics over here, but they are really powerful, especially early on. Abundance is giving you that plus 10 boost, which means you're getting to tasks way sooner than everybody. And this is more true on the higher end. So when you start to get up to the tasks that require 90 of a skill, well, now it only requires 80 of a skill. So you're saving a ton of time when it comes to training those skills. This does fall off late game, so if you're planning to stick around for the entirety of the league, it may not be as good, but we're here to rush dragons. So next up is going to be Woodsman in Tier 2. And again, this is because it's giving you early access to a fletching solve, and it's like a crazy strong fletching solve. It's also going to pair super well with Abundance to give you all of that cash early and probably open up some more tasks for you. Not to mention, it's also going to help a lot with Hunter, which is a pain in the butt. So this is going to help you train up a skill that you probably otherwise avoid. When it comes to teleports, I still want to go Evil Eye. Bosses hold a lot of points for yourself, so being able to come here, and especially for Varlamore, you know, you're getting quicker access to moons, which is going to be really strong gear for you, and it's going to help you get into other bosses in other areas faster. I think this is going to be the way to go. Plus, you have infinite charged Quetzal Whistles from Woodsman. You've probably done some Hunter Rumors, so the bird network's really well built out. So you're going to have good transportation around Varlamore at the very least, even with picking this up. Now, coming into Tier 4, you have 2 options. Like I mentioned before, I think Clues is probably the safer bet when it comes to points, because Clues are typically worth a lot of points. That said, Transmutation could work as your 200 mil combat skill. It's really going to depend. I don't know that this actually gives you more points than doing something like Clues, because Clues are going to be not only getting clue uniques, but also collection log slots. So both of those things are going to be worth quite a lot, I think. But there may be a case to pick up Transmutation because you're getting some of the higher tier skilling materials, which you may or may not have on hand because you've boosted up to get those levels. And also that magic solve, it's completely passive 0 time, which is really nice for rushing stuff. Now, coming into Tier 5, I'm thinking you want to go for the Farming Relic first. You could potentially pick up the Thieving Relic. I think that's going to be really strong as well. But this guarantees that you have an Herblore solve in case you need it. It's also going to help you tremendously with your farming, so that's going to be a lot of points. There are certain areas that benefit from this more, like Kourend with Tithe Farm. You don't necessarily have to take that. This tier is definitely the most flexible in terms of what choice you want, but I think the benefit of this is it also gives you a teleport relic, so it's going to help you get around the map more easily as well. Coming into tier 6, Culling Spree is a no-brainer. You're here to rush Dragon. This is giving you the most benefit compared to the other two. You don't care about doing a specific build. You probably don't care about food as well, because, I mean, if you're Dragon rushing, you're probably doing pretty well at the game already. So I don't think you're going to pick these other two. You're kind of locked into Culling Spree. Likewise, I don't think Flow State is doing like anything crazy for you. You've kind of skipped a lot of the skilling with Abundance, so you don't really need this to like go back and do stuff. So Reloaded is going to help you solve something else here in tier 5 for more points. You can use Larcenist if you're in Kandrin to solve clues. If you're in Taronwyn, that's your free like 50 mil crafting smithing right there. And also it's going to solve thieving for you really quickly. So I think both of these two are good options for yourself, but feel free to come back and take anything else that you like. And then tier 8, I mean, let's be real. You're probably pretty sweaty at this point, okay? You're Dragon Rushing, all right? Get to clicking, buddy. You're the Dragon Cup Chad at this point. You know, it's the most DPS out of the tiers, so yeah. I think this is the one that you're going for. And then I've got one more relic path here for you. Bit of a wild card and a lot of flexibility in this, but this is kind of where my head's at the moment. I think Barbarian Gathering is going to be a bunch of fun. Punching stuff sounds like a bunch of fun. It's also going to be good if you're going to be actively playing because you're going to get a lot of the Gathering XP. It's also helping you with agility, which is going to speed up your hot foot. I don't love the overlap there, but man, do I hate smithing and hate agility, and I just think hot foot is a really good pickup for that. Now, if you want the big brain plays, maybe the Map of Alacrity. Maybe. That's a big, fat maybe, okay? I think you probably should take Evil Eye, but I'm tempted, okay? I'm tempted to take the map and just see what happens. I think it's going to be a nightmare to use. This is not a good pick. It's just a pick, okay? Next up, we've got Butler's Bell. I don't think you can beat the AFK. Yeah, this isn't necessarily like an AFK build, but him just passively training up skills, giving you supplies, I think that's really, really nice. When it comes to tier 5, this one is a tough one. This one, I would be happy with all of these. I've circled Nature's Accord mainly because I think I'm going to need a teleport if I take the Map of Alacrity, because I don't think this is going to be good. At least in this way, I get a second teleport item, and I don't have to feel quite as bad. But you could definitely take any one of these, just depending on your areas, depending on what you want to solve. I super like the idea of sitting next to a runecrafting altar and just spam clicking, and then runecrafting's done. Oh, it's going to hurt not having this, man. I don't think I'm going to take it. Tier 6, I know I've already sold everybody on Culling Spree, so if you're with me, you're with me. That's the one that we're taking. And again, Flow State, it's just not that impressive to me, so I'm going to use Reloaded to take Grimoire to make sure I have access to everything. Though I do also think you could come back and take any of the things here in Tier 5, Tier 6 if you don't need Grimoire. That's a very area-specific one. And then Executioner. You know what? If you're worried about getting those hard bosses down, I think Executioner's the play. It's going to speed up raids. It's going to speed up all of those super challenging things that come at the end. And especially for like hard mode bosses, Zuck, they have this really, really nasty final phase that's just going to kill you. Now you don't have to deal with it at all. So I really, really like that as Executioner's Axe. Though I am a little tempted to take Minion just for the passivity of it. But I guess we'll see once I get in there. Whew, that was a lot, wasn't it? What do you think? How'd I do on the ratings? How'd I do with the builds? Do you agree with them? I'm going to have more Leagues planning stuff coming out here in the next couple of days, and a Leagues Progress series once that starts here shortly. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see those. And if you want to talk all of the builds and everything, Discord is going to be linked down in the description as well. So with that, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.